it's so rarely that they announce like an open competition, that every time they announce it, it's a big event. So the brief was quite straightforward. So they had already rented the space. The deadline was super short. So most of the teams, or most of the other kind of countries, have already selected their curators in the summer, and they were already working on projects. And in Bulgaria, they were just announcing the competition. The deadline was the 17th of January, the 16th, and then on the 17th they had to send the project to the organization. So it was really short, and it was around Christmas. So literally we had like 10 days to work on it.
Hello, Boris. Welcome to the podcast. Finally, we managed to do the podcast. I got to know about you through Irgen Saljani, who you know personally. I think, guys, you're both in Rotterdam, if I'm not wrong. And now, finally, we managed to do it with you, the podcast too. So welcome. And you can introduce yourself briefly to the audience, who you are and what you do.
Yeah, hi. My name is Boris. I'm an architect. I'm 37 years old. I live in Rotterdam. Still not having a proper architectural practice, but let's see.
No, but you are having some successes, so to say. And the main reason why we have a good reason to do the podcast is because I saw you won the competition to curate the Bulgarian participation on the Venice Biennale. I think we don't have as a country a whole pavilion, right? We probably have just a couple of rooms, or how does it work?
Yeah. So basically, this is the first time in 15 years since we have a pavilion at the Biennale. The last time it was so Bulgaria is one of the countries that's not that doesn't have a permanent presence in the Giardini, or it also doesn't occupy a spot in the Arsenale. So every time when they decide to participate or they're invited to do it, they have to find a location somewhere outside these two locations. And this time the location they rented, it's rented for 3 years. So they're hoping to get it for this year, the Architecture Biennale, then next year the Art Biennale, and hopefully one more Architectural Biennale in 3 years. The location now is it's called the Tiziano Hall. It's close to the bridge of the Academy, so it's really central actually. Yeah.
No, that sounds interesting. You are the first person that it's on the podcast that has managed to win the competition to curate the pavilion for the country. I think it's a big deal. You shouldn't underestimate it. I mean, a lot of big architects have started like this. But let's start a little bit from the beginning, as usual, on the podcast. So you are an architect. How come that you wanted to become an architect? Is somebody of your family an architect, or was it your personal choice? And did you study in Bulgaria? How did you move abroad? What were your steps? Because I think you've been also in Denmark. You've been to JDS, if I'm not wrong, and then several other big names. So go ahead, expand on your on your background and your career, because I think it's interesting.
Yeah, so I to be honest, I started actually my parents have nothing to do with architecture. My mother is a Bulgarian teacher. She used to teach in a high school. Now she's retired. And my father briefly studied like civil engineering for a couple of years, but he decided it's not for him, so he also moved away from it. didn't really start with architecture. I started with there are these technical schools in Bulgaria that I think they also exist in other places like Germany, for instance. But it's a bit like a technical school. So it's a technical high school. So after you turn 13, you have to apply somewhere, and then I applied to this technical school, and it's a construction focused. So it also changed its profile. So at some point I also had the opportunity to become a mason or whatever. But then afterwards I found it natural to apply to a couple of universities that had architecture as a bachelor degree. And I got accepted the second year after I graduated high school. I studied in Sofia. I briefly went on an Erasmus during my fourth year in university. I really liked it. I was in Brno in the Czech Republic. It was a really kind of a small architectural faculty. I spent a year there. I managed to travel quite a lot. This was like super exciting for me. And then it was also my first kind of encounter with like living away from my family, like really like a long distance separation. And then I came back to Sofia. I continued with my studies, but then after the fourth year, I decided I wanted to try something else again. So I applied for an internship at OMA. I got accepted. I went there. I stayed there for half a year. Then I went back to graduate. I still haven't graduated by this time. And after my graduation, I stayed for another year in Bulgaria. I tried working there. I didn't like it at all. And then my girlfriend, she got a proposal from MVRDV to move to Rotterdam. At the same time, I applied to JDS in Brussels, actually. Then we both left.
Why didn't you like it in Bulgaria? Because I'm Bulgarian, but I'm not really a Bulgarian. It's a very weird situation because I moved away with my family when I was just 8 years old, and I moved to Italy, and I grew up there. So I'm like have the family education as a Bulgarian, but all my surroundings were Italian. And I'm curious for you personally, because you explained you've been to an Erasmus before, and then you've been at OMA. And what was the experience working in Bulgaria that was not so pleasant?
Well, I think the environment was a bit different for me. I just came back from Rotterdam, and the whole approach to architecture was different, and even though it was like really kind of exhausting and intense like experience, I kind of missed it in a way. So this whole attitude towards like research and like research-based architecture, I really enjoyed. And then coming back to Sofia, I thought I thought the office that I went to, I could like it, and it was like a big office and everything, but at the end I didn't. And we tried with my girlfriend and with another like a group of architects to do a couple of competitions. At that time, we didn't succeed, and then I thought like just to try working back again to like to an I don't know. I don't want to say a Western office,
like
but,
abroad, to just go abroad.
Yes,
abroad.
yeah.
I think I don't know. I can imagine that because I mean, of course, I have some perception of what is the environment in more Eastern Europe. Let's say again, let's not say only Bulgaria. It's probably more vertical hierarchy, I guess, and that's probably a problem.
Yeah. And I don't know. It was a long time ago, and I think the office that I was in, it actually grew a lot. I think they're also quite happy with the stuff that they're kind of achieving and so on. But it was just not for me. It was like I couldn't make sense out of it in a way. So it was not something that seemed logical to me. And then I just decided not to force myself, and it was kind of like an easy way out, I guess. Yeah.
So you went to go ahead.
I was also curious, to be honest. I was also not really ready to kind of go back, and I wanted to explore a bit more. To be honest, I was even more ambitious than Belgium. I was applying to everywhere. I was applying to at some point to offices in Japan or I don't know, South America, and it was exciting and stuff. But at the end, I could only do Belgium.
I mean, only do Belgium. Come on, you did JDS. By the way, that's a funny thing because it's the only architect I had a little bit of a squabble with. He blocked my podcast account on Instagram because I was following him, and at some point he posted when they killed George Floyd. He was posting constantly stuff like these pigs need to die in jail, blah, blah, blah. And I said, I mean, it's not a pretty situation. Why are you saying this stuff online? And then he got angry and blocked me. And then I did a vlog from Copenhagen. And I didn't mention that the first VM houses and that the mountain was not only from Big, but also from JDS. So the JDS office texted me and said, you have to say it's also from us. And I said, I added somehow that it's from Big and JDS. But yeah, that was my little connection. I also invited the guy on the podcast, but never got a feedback. So I'm curious, what did you learn in this first? I mean, you went to OMA, and you went then to JDS. I think if I have a regret in my architectural career is that when I was younger, I never fully focused on applying at these archistar offices. To learn the processes, I rather stayed for my quite a comfortable internship here in Germany, which was quite well paid, and developed a career here. But I'm curious, what did you learn in these big offices? And afterwards, if you've been to others, because I don't know what happened after JDS.
Yeah, so OMA for me was, I didn't know what I was getting into. I honestly had no idea. Nobody from my university ever went. It's not like something that it's required from you. It's like just the program. It's not made in this way, and it was like fully my kind of initiative. I even had to get some sort of a paper signed by the dean that it's needed, and it was not, and it was a big issue to this whole process of applying. I only applied there. I don't know why, to be honest. I mean, of course, I knew what they were doing, but I had no idea about the process, and it was so much more than what I signed up for in a way. So I applied somewhere in the winter. I had this kind of a student job in an office, and we had a conflict with a guy, and so I decided, okay, let's see. So I applied only there, and I got a response, and then I had to wait for 6 months to get the internship. Now, what I remember was, I tell this story quite a lot to friends and stuff, but the first day I went, they I went at 9:00. I was like all dressed up, like it's really kind of, I think it's like like the first day you go to school or whatever, like when you were 7. And I went there like dressed up, and I was like, yeah, nice to meet you, blah, blah. And then I came back home at 3:00 in the morning. I have never experienced like such a thing, and they discontinued for like 2 months. I didn't have like a weekend or whatever, and it was like constantly like going and going and going. I also got moved quite a lot, so I was jumping from project to project, and then these 6 months really like I was exhausted afterwards. I learned a lot. It's a really intense environment as well. And then then I really had to go back and finish my studies in a way. So I also I came back after the semester had started. So this kind of madness kind of continued a bit.
But when you went to OMA, despite all the difficulties into getting there, which are kind of bureaucratic, did you feel you were at the level of what was required at the OMA? I guess as an intern, you were doing like more competition stuff. What were the biggest takeaways that you get there? What did you learn? Maybe some way of approaching a project, or maybe software-wise, or I don't know, architectural representation maybe. What was the biggest takeaway for you personally from that experience?
Yeah, like as I said, I've never experienced something like this. I was not prepared at all. I think I also like it's also a bit of a violent environment. I think it's like it's a really aggressive, and it's like super demanding as well. You learn a lot. Like I couldn't use Rhino when I was there. I had like opened it a bit before, but for instance, like not something that I would use actually daily. And there I kind of started from zero, and then I kind of progressed, and now I'm really confident with it. And it was like with so many things, like we didn't have the practice to do like models at university, and then this is like a really kind of like it's really kind of, they have like a really strong, they rely strongly on model making. I really enjoyed it. I also enjoyed the attitude toward the project, that it's not finished, and there's always like this space for doubt, and you always test stuff, and it's like you try and you try and you try and you try until the very last moment. That's it. Like you always leave like this doubt. It's always there. Like, is this the best thing? And then you only try options until the very last moment. And you study, and then it's like, and I really like it. And then it's just like the last moment that you kind of, especially for competitions, you assemble like a team of, I don't know, like 20 people, and then everybody has like a task, and it's like focused, and you overwork yourself, or at least used to be like this, but then you manage to produce, I think it's in many cases like something really, really nice, actually, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it changes, because the pace at this time, the pace at where these offices work, it's that. Yeah. And I don't think I don't know, I struggle to imagine a different way to do something like that, because I mean, some of the architecture, I mean, I do kind of regular architecture, and still it's quite challenging. And if you have to do crazy stuff like OMA or other big offices, must be even crazier. Maybe not in the competition phase, but afterwards. And I mean, in the competition phase, because you have tight deadlines, that's clear.
Yeah. But I think I was already at the stage where it was a bit more kind of toned down, and it was like I don't know. I think before my time, it was way more kind of violent and aggressive.
But did you work with Rem or with other people? I mean, I don't know, because I asked the same question to Irgen, and he told me he just shows up a little bit in the office, checks a couple of competition, and then does his thing. Yeah. So what was, like you said, it was quite aggressive, which this is another reason which I really think it's so toxic to, You bust your ass to be good at school, to make a great portfolio. So they take you in this office and they like be toxic with you. Like, I don't get the logic. This is like, I don't know. It's like being super masochist or something. I mean, nothing against you, nothing against whoever. I was one of those people that wanted to go to OMA, big from what I know, at least it's not violent.
No, for me, it was, I had never done this at school. Like, I've never done like an all-nighter at school. I never kind of really, for me, university was like quite easygoing, I think. I was doing better at some places than others. In Bulgaria, it's a really kind of weird kind of agenda in university that you study like all these different categories of buildings and stuff. And then every category has like its own project, and some of them I really kind of didn't really put effort in, and then some ones it really depended on the tutor, of course. But it's a weird system compared to what I see now in Europe. But and that's why OMA was such a big shock for me, because like from the start it was like super demanding, like you should stay and you should finish and this should blah blah. And then it's not like it was not kind of worded out. It was like just kind of implied that you should stay. And I think people, less and less do this. I honestly, I don't see this too much in like interns and I don't know. It's like the whole staying for the sake of staying late. I find it like really stupid. But if you really kind of want to push yourself and like improve and you're motivated and you find it interesting and it's like, and you learn a lot, I think it's actually quite nice.
And I think the more you're young, like the younger you are, and if you're an intern or a student, you're more motivated because all your life it's like this. But then you get a girlfriend, you get kids, you get a wife or whatever, and then at some point you're like, fuck this shit, I don't want to stay until 10 for another building. And in the end of the day, you're not even paid that much. So, and what was your experience then going to JDS, which is this kind of branch of the first collaboration between Björk Ingels and Julien de Schmet, I think it's pronounced. So what was your experience there?
Yeah, Julien is I got contacted, I don't know, it was like 1 year after I came back to Bulgaria, like more or less. And I was really looking to move away, and I had already like a friend who went there. I didn't get the contact through her. She already left. It was like, actually they found me through her because I put the wrong phone number in the portfolio. So they also kind of, and then it was like, again, it was like a lot of competitions. We moved to Denmark with a colleague of mine who's actually one of my friends now. We moved to Denmark for a month to work on a competition in Denmark. We also met the Danish office, and the people there were like great. Like I was. I still keep in contact with some of them. This is like almost 10 years ago now. A bit less, but still, it was a much smaller office, and compared to OMA, like OMA was like 180 people when I was there, but he still managed to push and to like do ambitious projects in a way. I think he can be also quite demanding as well, but he's also like if you just talk to him like in a normal conversation, and he's super it's a really nice conversation you can have with Julien. Yeah.
So he is
like,
Belgian, but he moved to Denmark and has an office there.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, he had two offices. I'm not sure what happened. I think now he actually won this European Parliament competition. It's a huge, massive European offices from everywhere, and it's. I think it's quite nice for him, to be honest.
Yeah. I saw that he collaborated though with some other office. I'm not sure which one.
Yeah.
And how long did you stay there? And what was the motivation to move on?
Yeah, I stayed for a year and a half. Like we did all kinds of stuff. Like we did competitions. We did this Leo project that he was doing was just finishing. I was working on a house, and it was quite interesting. I mean, he's a smart guy, I think. And then after a year and a half, actually, my girlfriend, as I mentioned, she was at MVRDV at that moment. And she just messaged me that they're growing and they're looking for people, and then that I should apply. And so I did. They called me it was just around Christmas, and then in February I moved to Rotterdam, and to start working with them
at MVRDV then.
Yes, yeah.
And then you stayed there also for a couple of years.
Yeah, I stayed there for quite a lot actually for me. So
how long?
4.5 years.
Oh, that's
it's so this was I think it was the biggest stretch that I've had. So I also enjoyed it quite a lot. The office was quite fun, and it was when I started, we were around 70 people, and then when I left, it were around 250.
Okay, so it grew a lot.
Yeah. And it was really strange. The whole thing, the first time I came to Rotterdam, it was in 2011, and they were just beginning to excavate. They were just beginning to take out excavate for the market hall. And then when I came back, in 2015, 16, they were just opening it, and it was the city was completely transformed. Rotterdam was not the
That was the project that made me discover that office, because maybe I'm a little younger than you are, not too much.
For me, it was the starting logo of AutoCAD in 2008, I think.
Yeah, I think so.
For me, this was the office. Because I was 2000. Was it? I'm not sure. It was one of the AutoCADs, and I'm not entirely sure if I was still in high school or already in university. But I was really impressed by this building and the Wozoko apartments, and I think it's one of the best projects that they did, to be honest.
No, there are many good projects, but I know some people working at the office, and I think there the atmosphere is also quite nicer than the aggression you mentioned before. It really depends on you. People really work hard as well. Yeah, I mean that's I don't think if you work for one of those offices, I don't think you're getting away from the extreme pressure.
Yeah. No, it was really nice. And then I started again with competitions.
So you were doing competitions beside your work?
Yeah. This was crazy. Because we were both, me and my girlfriend at the time, we were both working at the office, and we were both kind of really busy with competitions, and it was really kind of intense. And then at the same time, we decided to try Europa, and we decided to do other competitions, and we also decided that there were also this wave of public competitions in Bulgaria, and then almost every year you get at least one or two, which is quite a lot for Bulgaria. And then we thought, okay, why not try it? It's interesting. It's a context that you're familiar with, you grew up in this context, and it wouldn't hurt anybody. Let's see what comes out of it. And this is it's a bit like a hobby, like
yeah, well, it's a funny hobby to work like, I don't know, like crazy at work, and then after work you're like, okay, let's open the laptop and keep going.
It was also, I mean maybe it was not really, but MVRDV actually started like this. So they started with Europan. So in a way, like it was not, they were kind of accepting about this, because I mean, I know for sure that they knew that people were doing Europan at the office, and it was crazy. Like there were at least like 5-6 teams of like 6 to 8 people doing Europan in the office. Like people would win Europan actually during their stay in the office. It was like just like everybody was doing competitions outside of work. So,
but I mean, you gotta get this kind of people in your office. Like you cannot avoid it. If you're not getting the, like MVRDV is not gonna get the people that don't want to do competitions, or that they know that perfectly that people are there to learn and maybe to start their own practice. So I think they have to be okay with it. And you stayed there 4 years and a half, and then what happened afterwards? Did you move to another star offices, or you finally decided, okay, let's do something more chill?
No, then I had like I think I worked for like 9 months in Barcode.
They're famous too.
Yeah, then the pandemic kind of started, and then I just didn't get my contract continued. Then I worked briefly for VMX, and then the last really kind of thing that I was kind of a part of was Studio for New Realities, which is basically, so one of the partners from MVRDV, Jeroen Zouthuis, he left the office and he opened his own practice. And then, I just I talked to the guy, and it was also a nice experience for me. Actually, one of the best, to be honest.
And okay, let's go to the pavilion competition. So how did you find out about the pavilion competition, and what was the brief, and what was your approach to this thing?
So as I mentioned, it was it was a bit weird. So we were going back on holidays to Bulgaria, like around December, and then I found out that they just announced this competition for a pavilion, and I was like, okay, maybe why not? It's just a pavilion. I haven't done competitions in quite some time before, like for myself, to be honest. And it's actually it's the first time in 15 years that they take part. Like the previous time, it was curated by one of my tutors in university. I just didn't want to miss the opportunity. Like it's if there's something interesting in Bulgaria, we always try to participate. So it's so rarely that they announce like an open competition, that every time they announce it, it's a big event. So the brief was quite straightforward. So they had already rented the space. The deadline was super short, so most of the other kind of countries have already selected their curators in the summer, and they were already working on projects. And in Bulgaria, they were just announcing the competition. The deadline was the 17th of January, the 16th, and then on the 17th they had to send the project to the organization. So it was really short, and it was around Christmas. So literally we had like 10 days to work on it. Yeah.
Really? And what was the brief? What did they wanted from you? To have an exposition space with some concepts, some experience to generate?
Yeah, they didn't specify, so they just used the general topic given by Leslie Loco, the curator of the Biennale this year, and then the brief was to just make I guess it's like exhibition design, or come up with a concept for the Bulgarian Pavilion, and it was quite liberating. So you could choose your topic, and then you can present the scenography and so on. And
and who was the team? You, and who else did you do the things?
So we have this kind of collective. It's called POV, point of view, and this started actually in 2017, I think. Before that, it was only me and my girlfriend, and then we did exactly as you said, Europan. We did it together, the two of us. Then another friend of ours, she joined, and we did a competition in Italy for I think a brewery, and then I think it was in a couple of months that this happened, and then in the winter there was they announced this competition for. An old power plant heat. It's a power plant in the center of Sofia. They had this cultural program that they want to transform the building. This is when actually Mike joined. He's a friend of mine from JDS. He was working at OMA at that moment. And also a couple of other friends. And then it was really when we really kind of got together, and we were working from Rotterdam, and then from Switzerland, and then it was Bulgaria as well. And it was this really kind of mess of people and locations. It was we decided to really kind of do whatever we wanted to do, and not really kind of see what will get us to win in a way. And we really actually liked the project. It was a renovation, but it was quite restricted. They had this old building, and then you couldn't really build a lot around it. On top of it, I think you could actually expand it with 200-300 square meters. So at the end, and they also wanted to have this iconic thing. And then in the brief, there was this thing about creating a visual mark or a tower or whatever. And then instead of a tower, we decided to make this inflatable bubble on the roof. So whenever there are events or exhibitions, this bubble would inflate, and then it will show above the hills that it was surrounded with. And then in case they could dismantle it and then transport it to another place and use it as an ambassador to the institution that was going to be housed in. We came second in this competition. It was 120 submissions, but we were still quite disappointed that we came second. And we decided that we would continue doing this. So whenever there was an interesting competition, we would kind of keep doing it. So this POV thing kind of appeared, let's say. And then it was more or less the same collective. It was me, my girlfriend, wife, this friend, Bujidara from Bulgaria, Mike Fitch also. He was not super involved, but we still would kind of discuss it and talk about it. And then a friend of mine from university, a graphic designer that actually started university with. And we throughout the whole thing, we were just absolutely sure that we were not going to be selected. We thought that the topic that we picked was too much for the jury, and it's not going to be well accepted. But we still kind of thought that it's a logical thing to do, and then it made sense for us. So we just went for it. And then we kind of did it in I think in total it was like 10 days, maybe. Not much.
But like crazy time, like day and night. And also, what was the solution that for you was the most logical thing that made you win the competition? Is it, by the way, the competition public somewhere? Is it possible to see the?
Yeah, I think they published all the results at the end. You can search it in. I think it's like published by the Chamber of Architects in Bulgaria. And now recently they also, like Arc Daily also published our thing. There was like a press conference and so on. It was not really day and night now because we also have children now, so it's a bit different. So it was mostly nights. It was a bit intense. Like I must say that it was. I was also like a bit sick at the end, so I was not feeling really well. And what we decided, because it was the whole idea about the pavilion was that we really tried to work with the brief and what was given to us. So the brief, like, it was a really low budget thing. We literally thought that we're really limited in our kind of ways of expressing or presenting material at the pavilion. Also, the main topic of the Biennale is the laboratory of the future, and especially linking it to Africa, and there was also this other layer of like having a gap of 15 years between two biennales, and then also there's always the question of like, what do you show when you were absent for 15 years, like in a certain forum, and then for us, like, we really wanted to make like almost like a I don't know, like not like a not like a retrospective, but like to really evaluate this. So what has actually happened in Bulgaria for the last 15 years. And then we came across this thing that there were like actually two population counts in the country. And then the population has dropped by 10%. And then for us, this is like really big. Like it's more than 700,000 people actually were like for 15 years, they were just gone. And then I was also following this Belgian photographer, Alexandre Dumoret, and he was traveling the country also during this period, and he was photographing abandoned schools, and we thought there was like a really nice a metaphor to. It's actually architecture is a diagram. It's really like. It's showing it in a really kind of straightforward way. Of course, we also so this is what we presented. We had like this scenography, and we thought, okay, this is done. Let's maybe we get another second place or whatever. And then they actually called us, and they told us we won with this. Yeah.
So I am seeing a bit the project. Let me try to show it to everyone. It's a very interesting concept. So you got inspired, as you said, by, like I always say to people, and they don't trust me, is that we Bulgarians are like pandas. We're disappearing really quickly. So here we see the like your project. So you basically took some images of buildings that represent this topic, so to say. First, at the end, it was like a really kind of a multi-layered thing. So you can actually, I think this is also why we actually won, because everybody has had his own interpretation on what we presented. So you got inspired by these images, so to say, of this abandoned building. these are abandoned schools, because I mean that's a great idea, because the schools is what it's emptied because there are no kids. How did you come up with the did you know about these abandoned buildings, or did you research it? How did you talk me a little bit through your creative process with your collective? Because it's really interesting. I mean, it's a good idea.
Yeah, we knew the work of the photographer, so he's really kind of his work is always like almost he has like several like threads that he's following, and then these abandoned schools is one of them. And then we managed to get in contact with him, so he got like super excited about this. We kind of came up with the idea to not only present the schools, but also to basically use his images and present also objects from the places, and have like a narrative around this topic, and to also use it, because this is not really. We received a lot of critics saying that this is like really like looking to the past. It's not linked to the topic, and so on and so on. However, I think it's basically first was the present, so it's like it's the current state of things, and then we actually want to use the pavilion as a platform for discussion, and his work should be like a starting point for something like which would lead to kind of taking actions, or you should be aware of the thing. And then this is actually the map of the schools that he photographed. So he photographed more than 200 schools all around the country, but it's basically a lot more. So it's just as he said, it's only the tip of the iceberg. And then Bulgaria is actually the according to statistics, I'm not sure how accurate this is, but it's the fastest shrinking country, like globally. So it's it's really something to think about, at least.
No, for sure, indeed. I say always that, and I mean, I'm part of this shrinking population. I'm part of those kids that didn't go to the school, and it's a little bit sad. But the government is not doing enough for changing this path that we're going towards. And but a part of like this scenography that you have created, there will be exposition of Bulgarian projects too, or how does it work?
No, so we are going to have like a series of interviews with people that are actually involved in the topic. It's basically like it should be like a platform for discussion, basically. So it's like people with different background, which one way or the other, they're going to be speculating on what can be done, how it can be kind of. It's not. I don't think it's actually about improving. It's about like living with this, or living in a country with declining population. How do you make use of these facilities? Should they be left to kind of fade out, or should they be kind of evaluated? And in a way, it's really thinking about the future of these spaces. Yeah.
And when you work in this collective, one thing that is very interesting to me is that it's very difficult, in my personal opinion, to work in a collective where there is no, like, let's say, a boss. Because people, like, you have to rely a lot on the other people, that everyone does their own part. How do you, like, is it like a group of people that are highly motivating into doing competitions? And that want to work hard, and everybody is very reliable on each other, or sometimes there are little squabbles in the process. And also, how do you coordinate? How do you work together? As like, it's, I mean, when you work in an office, you have all these softwares, and you have this like workflows, and you have all the same files, and you have like all on the same server or whatever. And how do you coordinate this part, the operational part? Does everyone does their own thing, and somebody at the end makes it fit together? Walk me through this process.
Yeah, for instance, we had it actually like now it's because we haven't done this in quite some time, but we found a formula more or less that kind of works for us. So we always like kind of discuss and study, and then everybody gives comments, and it's not that all of us are always working at the same time, like in a real office, but it's like sometimes like you have more time, so you spend more time. But you always discuss with your team, and you always get feedback from them, and I think it's really valuable as well. And then everybody has their own kind of strength, I think, in this. But you always discuss everything with everybody, and then because it's a small team, of course, and how we're like technically organizing it, we're actually using Google. It's as simple as that. So before it was a bit more complicated because like the
What do you mean by using Google? Like you put everything on Drive or what?
Yeah, yeah, and it works. Like it's like we don't have like a crazy amount of projects, so we don't need like a huge server space. We mostly are not working like at like 10 projects at the same time, so we're not generating huge amounts of like stuff. And for competitions, this is really the best because it really works. Yeah.
But you have to work always with the same, like you cannot be like okay, this guy likes to work with SketchUp, this other guy likes to work with Rhino.
No, yeah, that's true. Yeah, that's true. But most of us, we come from, me and my wife, we worked at MVRDV, so we're really kind of doing the same thing. Mike worked at OMA, so he's also doing the same thing. And it's mostly Rhino and Adobe and this kind of stuff.
Yeah, so the hardcore stuff that takes a lot of time to do.
I don't know. We are kind of used to it. It's not. I don't know. Yeah.
I didn't. I think the idea is great. And is it the competition a game changer for your collective? Is it like, okay, now we're like, because I mean, you've been spotlighted in Arc Daily on terrific podcasts like this one, getting on the Creative Insider. Come on, like that's a big deal, way bigger than Arc Daily. Almost bigger than winning the competition itself. And is it like now? I mean, I am wondering why you didn't, you weren't invited in some of those morning shows in Bulgaria or things like that. Because come on, like this is the biggest architectural venue, more or less, in the world, and you're representing our country. So
I think. So first of all, I think we got invited to one of the shows, like Bujidar actually went, but in Bulgaria, it's just not that big of a deal. I think architecture is really not the focus of, it's not the main thing in the news, or it's not even like, it's really difficult to actually get like crazy famous with winning a Bulgarian Pavilion. Most of the things that we're getting is actually bad press and scandals, which is quite funny.
Okay, we have enough of that.
So this is really funny, and people are getting frustrated. And as I said, like it's not like a easy topic. It's not. I don't know. It's not, at least in Bulgaria, it's not really well digested. This whole thing. But no, we're also not really focusing on this. We're really trying to, because it's also a really short time that we have to prepare this, and actually it's really intense, and we don't have time to focus on anything else. We hope that we manage to finish everything in the coming month. And then we will think about it.
But what do you need to get done? Like, I mean, it's not building a building, but you have to get all the stuff delivered, all the stuff produced, coordinate. Are you in charge of coordinating all the? I mean, I guess you have to print those textile
Yeah, this
curtains.
is actually the stuff that we already kind of have. But there's like also we're also busy with like getting content from other people. We're trying to involve as much people as possible, and then it's also this is really difficult because we're a bit outside of the context as well. So it takes us longer to get to the right people to write text for us and to produce images, and to we're also busy with the interviews and so on and so on. So it's
but you mean other people, other architects or other people from
we're trying to we are in the process of getting collaborators, preparing texts for the catalog, preparing text for the exhibition, assembling a narrative around the exhibition, just producing a lot of stuff. And this takes a lot. And we're also busy with doing finances and budget and working with it and being restricted by it and looking for sponsors and so on and so on. So it's
and is this economically rewarding? Is it worth it? Or it's again a passion project?
No. It's I think most of us we're doing it because we really like it as well, but economically it's not. I'm not going to share details, but it's definitely not the money that we went for.
Yeah. I mean, I didn't say you went for the money, but at least that pays the bills or something like that. So it's.
I'm not sure.
I mean, this is very frustrating to me because. Maybe I don't know. Probably if you were in another country, it would have worked differently. But this is something that is frustrating for architecture. That no matter, I mean, come on, you have a CV that it's crazy. You have literally worked at, I mean, probably for you sounds something super normal because it's your life. You went to OMA, then you went to JDS, then you went to MVRDV, then at Barcode, then at that other offices. And it's crazy stuff. And then you have this crazy knowledge, and then you win the pavilion, and you have to basically do it on your own time, on your own money. And that's really, really something frustrating that...
but it's... But I do agree with it. I think it should be like this. But I also think that all the other people, there are a lot of other offices that deal with the same issues, but they're maybe a bit smarter than us with dealing with it, or smarter in finding ways of funding it or not fund. But for us, this is really I think there were other teams that were more experienced in in curating exhibitions, and they already had ways of approaching this. In
my opinion, you guys should work a little more on your online presence. If you need help with that, I can join the collective with the online presence, because it's very you have a website that's just basically your contact data and that's it. And so if you're this mysterious guy without a real profile picture on social media, so we have to put you on track with that and put out all the projects you guys made, and at least share them, I don't know, on LinkedIn, on Instagram, and show a little bit, because I think it's a great value. And this is why I'm doing this podcast, because a lot of the architects and professionals in the design industries in general are so focused on the design that nobody teaches you to sell the design. It's sometimes the great design, it's not enough by itself, although it's fundamental. And so we will stay in touch on this topic. I want to make more Bulgarian rich so that they can have more kids. So that we can fill up that schools back with people.
That's a strategy.
that's my strategy. Well, that's the only thing you can do, actually. I think, to fix the problem. It's at least great that you guys won. And I mean, through this competition, at least did you get a bigger network of architects now in Bulgaria that know about you, because they kind of have to communicate with you?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Yeah, we kind of, but I think the network of architects is not really the biggest problem, because also Rotterdam is like really well connected with like all kinds of architects. It's the other part that is problematic in the case. It's like finding clients and talking to developers and all this kind of stuff, which is, I think it's actually, this is the part missing in our work. But yeah, it's business development, which basically we never like. We always grew up with the idea of like winning a competition, then becoming famous, but then you kind of miss the in between part. So it's
no, it doesn't work that way. It doesn't work that way. So, I was thinking about it. It's like today I was at the gym, and sometimes at the gym you have these weird thoughts, and then I was thinking, like, there are guys here in the gym that look way better than me, but they lift way less than me, and they just suck, and they don't just put the work. So it's not about the work; it's about how it looks like. So it's like, stop thinking about we have to do the greatest work and we're gonna be famous. No, it's about showing it at the best way possible. Yeah. So, but I mean, really, I think that many architects, I've talked to so many people, and so many people like feel this also a little bit of they're shy somehow to show, and they say, "Oh, this is stupid. This doesn't make any sense." But if you do it in the right way, it makes total sense. And I didn't know you before we did the podcast. Like, I knew about you, as I said. Irgen told me, talk to this guy. He's Bulgarian. He's super talented. He's super passionate. So I have this idea of you being this super passionate about architecture. And because also you have this one picture is a Lego guy, and the other picture is like a pixelated guy. I'm like, this is a lot of like cubes and stuff. He really must be into architecture. And also the way you described your career, you said it with this sort of nonchalance way that you didn't give importance to it. But as you said, you work at some of the most talented offices out there, from the Netherlands, from Belgium. What is your design philosophy, and what is the thing that makes you happy, like, and really fired up about architecture? Because you mentioned a lot that this is also your hobby, your thing that you do beside your work. I mean, it's your work, and then after work you like to do it. And also your wife is an architect, which is a very natural thing in the field. And you probably share a lot of like this profession. So what is for you personally this power that, despite all the difficulties, all the hard work and the not super much money that you get, that you pushes you, and what you want to achieve with your projects?
Yeah, I think I really enjoy this. It's like thinking on a problem, and it doesn't matter what kind of, like, you can have so much fun with this thing. It's just amazing that there's like a profession that it like gives you so much pleasure when you exercise it, and it's for me it's like interesting, and it can be really fun and entertaining, and it can be serious, and you can actually influence people's lives. I don't believe in the idea that you can actually change the world through architecture, but you can definitely influence people. I think of architecture more as like a strategy, or as an approach to kind of improving your environment, and I really enjoy this. I do. It's a funny.
But how do you explore it? How do you explore your ideas? What do you want to achieve with your design to change people's life? For example, I'm gonna make an example, maybe because sometimes it's also difficult to put this in your own words. I had this guy on the podcast, Scott Henderson. He's a industrial designer from New York, from Brooklyn. And he told me his design philosophy is that he always wants to surprise people. There's this design philosophy, you want to fix the problems of people. He says, no, I don't want to be negative. I want people to, when they use an object, to get surprised by how well it works or how well it's shaped, and they discover something they didn't expect it. Is there something for you that when you approach a project, try to achieve?
Yeah, I think it's quite nice. But it's not. I think it should be like intelligent. It should be smart. It should be it should be something that's that you really. It's not. Sometimes it can be like you put a lot of effort in it, but sometimes it's effortless. So it's not really about putting effort in it. It's just about how it works and how they discover it and how they live with it. And it should always have this kind of added quality to it, I think. Something that it's not in the brief, but it's based on the brief that nobody actually saw. And it's like a possibility that exists, but the people haven't really kind of approached the project problem in this way. And we try to do it in every project, this thing. So, for instance, with this power plant that we did, like this balloon, nobody's thought about this. Like we did another competition in Varna. It's another city in Bulgaria where they really want to preserve the site, but they also want to make a basement. So we said, okay, let's not make a basement. Let's move the parking that you want on the second level. Let's make it like. So it should always have like a critical approach to the brief. It should be always based on the brief of the client or the competition, but you should always think in a way that how can you improve it and how can you, and you don't really win competition with this. So it's
so okay, take this advice, scratch it, because Boris never wins the competition.
Not a lot of people see it in like most of the people when they write a brief, they really want, or at least in Bulgaria, they really want what they wrote.
So maybe you should start trying to do competitions outside of Bulgaria. Maybe that works better. No, but no, in general, like, how do you deal with like the problem with competitions and with architecture in general? It's like you start with always this white canvas, like completely white. Like you have a brief, yes, they like give you a plot and they give you some ideas. Do ideas come up to you because of your very big experience that you now have with a lot of things behind you, like with a lot of the projects that you've done? Or do you, I don't know, brainstorm with your wife and with the other guys of the collective? Or how do you deal with the white canvas?
Wow, that's and so every time is different. So if you start with the competition, we always start with like exactly like with a plot, with the brief. It's always based on it. We came to the conclusion that just putting an object somewhere, which is like something that you really like, but it's like undefinable, it's completely absurd and it's a loss of time. And it's also, and at the end, the result that you achieve with it is not something which you can actually be proud of, I think. So for us, always it makes sense that it has to be driven by the demand, or and again, you should try to improve it. I think I think that for me, this is like having fun with it. Like
but like, let's say, for example, the Bulgarian Pavilion, you have 10 days. You read the brief, you have 10 days. And the brief says something. And then you have 10 days to figure out, and you have to figure it out quite quickly, what is going to be the direction you're going to go. And once you figure out the direction, you have to really hurry up doing the best possible drawings and the best possible 3D model or whatever it is to win the competition. So how do you take it really in a playful way, that you take this brief and they tell you like, we want, I don't know, an exposition that represents Bulgaria on the Biennale with some plan for whatever, improving the country, I don't know. And you guys sit in one day, or one day it's 2 hours, let's say, because you have kids, you have the rest of your life. And you guys like chit chat a little bit, like, I don't know, we're kind of shrinking population. By the way, there is this photographer. Okay, let's do like some sort of a curtain with these big pictures. Like, this is crazy. Like, I mean, it's do you take it easily? Do you like participate in a competition?
No, but it's always like questions like you don't like something about the space, and then you don't like something about like how it's organized, and you are thinking about like the way that people enter the space, and it's like you create like this narrative in your head that people would go in a certain direction, and then you would like to show it the pictures in a certain way that you start with like you have to introduce the project. It's like you also have like this a million limitations, especially in the Bulgarian Pavilion. You have like this million limitations. It's like you have like a tiny budget. It's like a space that probably nobody will visit because it's like outside of the thing, and then or people that are going to visit, they're going to spend like a super limited amount of time there. It's a country that doesn't have a regular presence, so you have to come up with a really kind of a strong topic and like something that's kind of interesting, not only for architects but also for like a general public, and it has to be accessible, but also kind of you really have to go beyond this, and then you again you focus on the space, and then you see that it's like it's not great, it's like it's being kind of reinforced by this metal structure, and then the only kind of cheap way to like organize the space becomes this curtain that has to kind of almost cover everything, but then you're almost running out of budget, so you have to think of a way to use it to present the work of the photographer in a nice way. So it's like all these kind of bits and pieces, and then you try to define zones and what happens in these areas, and it's a really kind of a methodic. It's not something that you. Yeah, we went through quite a lot of iterations of like the space and how many.
Quite a lot of iterations in like 2 hours.
Yeah, no. But it's still ongoing. So after, everybody was aware that when we won the competition, it was not finished. It was lacking content. It was like lacking depth, and we got this as a criticism. But also the topic had like a lot of potential just because we went for this. Like, I think. We won because exactly we were not too specific about it. We picked a nice thing, at least for us, something that like is can be developed, I think. And I think also in general the Biennale for me is a bit of a strange space to exhibit work because it exists for 6 months, but then most of the exhibitions are kind of static during these 6 months, and then our intention at least was to kind of first of all use the time that we kind of had between winning the competition and to develop the project and to kind of enrich it as well, but also during the pavilion, the Biennale, to kind of have events and develop the topic further. And also our intention is after it's finished to kind of bring it back, like have these new layers added and have an exhibition here as well. So let's see how it works, but this is at least the goal. Yeah. And it's always like, there's always this thing that you're always afraid that you're not ambitious enough with your projects. I think this is also a thing. Yeah.
Yeah, I guess that's always
that you didn't try to do as much as you could, you know. So it's always like I think it's a really kind of ego, I think thing.
How was I mean, I guess it's not, as you said, it's not the biggest project with the biggest assignment in the world. Yeah. How was this? How was your win accepted or digested by the Bulgarian architectural scene and community? Because I guess, I mean, in the end of the day, the people that most are involved into seeing this stuff are architects. You know, it's like for the people that are involved in the industry. How was the? I don't know, were you warmly congratulated, or was it a little bit of a jealousy, or can you say something?
Yeah, so I don't know. It was like, first of all, I think because everybody struggled to submit this competition, and in the end they submit like 34 projects for it. We were expecting a lot less, to be honest. That's also why we did it. I thought it's going to be like it's Christmas. It's going to be like 5 projects tops. Nobody cares about this. But then in the end, there were like 34. When I knew there were 34, I was like a bit worried. And then I was completely not expecting to win it. And then I think people also got frustrated and they didn't fully understand what we did. And there were like bad critics, like really like not grounded or just like random stuff. Like this is not like people that really didn't have like any. Yeah, they. I think it's just lack of understanding of what the Biennale actually could be, and like completely opposite to our opinion. And then there are also like people which actually gave us good criticism that I think helped us to improve what we did in the past months. We also got a lot of bad press. We got like a bit of good press in like certain publications, but people were generally kind of cautious. Like,
but in Bulgarian publications or international ones?
Yeah, in Bulgarian, like no, internationally, I think it's also not really interesting for people internationally to discover it. But in Bulgaria, it's mostly like there was quite a lot of articles, at least for me, that really criticized the project. That it was not well done. It was.
As a person that grew up abroad and didn't study architecture in Bulgaria, I have no idea of any single architecture issue in Bulgaria, but feel free to hook me up on some, so I'm going to be following them.
I'll share. No, but it's I think also it's really like political as well, because the current like situation in the country, it's like a temporary government. There are a lot of people trying to. I don't know. I'm also a bit of an outsider to this whole context, which.
That's why I got super excited to see that you won, because I was like, I mean, let's be honest, like the perception I get like as a Bulgarian is that everything in the country it's corrupt and rotten. And I mean, there is a reason why we are abroad, let's be honest. And then I see, okay, this guy won the competition. I don't believe he's like connected, very well connected if he's in Rotterdam. That was a super good news for me, and that's why I was curious to understand. And who was evaluating like the final prize? Like because at the end of the day, you won. Was also like part of the curation of the general Biennale that had to evaluate it, or.
No. It's a Bulgarian jury. This is like we did have to present it, and like we had to send it, and it's going to be included in the catalog of the Biennale. But they just give you the space to present. Not even this. It's just you use their platform in a way. Yeah.
And are you going to be in the opening days there in the Biennale?
Yeah, definitely.
And then you have to connect with all the like big names architecture.
I've never like I've been to, let's say 3-4 Biennales, but I've never been at an opening. We normally go at the end. But this is going to be quite interesting.
Well, I talked to Kai-Uwe Bergman from Big, and he told me go to the openings day because this is how he met Björke, and he went to work for him. And he told me go, and I thought this is true. Like I don't give a shit about the projects, to be honest. Like I mean, I hate like I mean. There are cool projects, for example, Effect Architects a couple of years ago, I think a couple of years because it's Biennale, they did this exposition with the trees that they had all their models within this tree that were real trees planted and they were growing during the Biennale, and after the Biennale they were replanted somewhere around Denmark. So that was quite cool. But I mean, I don't enjoy this snobby, douchey way of doing architecture, where you wear this black high collar and you just drink brandy and wine and be pretentious. I like to. That's why I try to bring this fresh air into this the communication. And when he told me you go in the first days, so you don't take. I mean, you can avoid totally the projects. You can just talk to the people, and then I mean, it's a little pricey. I hope at least Bulgaria is covering your expenses for that. I really hope.
I'm not going to comment on this.
You're not going to comment on this. I thought so. Well, then, people, I suggest you, if you're Bulgarian, do not participate to the competition for the Biennale Pavilion.
I think the next one will be much better organized, because they really were they were already doubting if they should do it or they shouldn't, and they really decided like last minute. And to be honest, I really like it. I think it's like it's just an attempt that is nice, and. Yeah.
Were the competitions submitted anonymously?
No, this was not. It was open, because you also had to present the team. So,
but you had to put like the names on who is doing the project.
Yeah, and what's our specialty? What's our kind of background, and so on and so on. Yeah.
Okay. That's kind of weird to me, because usually open competition is still anonymous, so that you don't get biases, and that's kind of.
Yeah, but I think in this case, I think some of I'm not sure about most of the countries, but I know for sure about like 2-3 countries that do it exactly like this. So it's because they really need to check who's going to present it, and like what's your background and what's your to be honest, like, yeah.
Okay. And I mean, I have to check into this, because sometimes you have to apply for a competition, so they have to approve you beforehand.
They didn't have time for this.
Yeah, that's why I think. Yeah. No, but I mean, in the end, if you're happy with the result, I wish you all the best for the competition, for the completion of the project, and let's hope. I'm pretty sure. I'm so happy that you are the one in charge of representing Bulgaria to the Biennale. With no matter how small and tiny the space is, I think it's gonna be great. We like to finish the podcast always with a question to all of our guests, which is this attempt to create like a little pot of inspiration. And what do you do besides work in the competition? If you have, I don't know, favorite books, movies, if you just spend time with your family, how do you recharge your creative batteries to be very creative and happy about your work?
Yeah, spending time with my family is definitely nice. I really enjoy it. Movies is also something that I really like. I don't know. It's I used to have more time to do it before, and now not so much. Favorite movie. I don't know. I was thinking about it today, and I don't know. Maybe Tarantino or I don't know. Yeah. I'm really thinking about it today, like maybe Pulp Fiction or I don't know. Yeah.
So Tarantino movies is your thing?
I really watch a lot of stuff, and this kind of.
But is there, for example, a movie that stay with you for a little while, that you watch this movie and then you were like, this movie made me think about stuff?
Yeah, so there are movies that I watch once and then they stay for me. It's like, for instance, like Underground is one of these movies. It's really like, I don't know, like an Eastern European thing. Then besides it, I really enjoy, I don't know, Brazil I quite liked, but I couldn't watch it more than once. So it's really kind of...
from who is this movie and what is it about?
Brazil. It's a dystopian movie. You should check it out. It's from the 80s. It's nice.
Okay, so people just Google Brazil the movie and you're gonna find it out. I'm pretty sure.
Underground for sure as well.
And Underground. And if you don't find it, Google Boris. Find him on Facebook. You'll see a Lego guy, and you can talk to him and ask him more about his work and about the movies. So thank you very much for participating on the Creative Insider. And again, all the best for the future and the future competitions. And I hope to have you back on the Creative Insider to talk about another great project you guys won.
I hope so. Yes. Thanks a lot.
Have a nice evening.
Yes, you too.